Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to perform an autopsy on a feeling that I think every single person in the security industry has
Oh,
experienced.
I think I know where this is going.
It's that gnawing, sinking sensation you get at, say, 4 p.m. on a Friday.
The Sunday scaries, but on a Friday afternoon.
Even worse. It's what I call the busy trap. You know the one.
Mm-hmm.
You've spent the entire week just churning out reports. You've scraped the dark web until your retinas are burned. You've sent out 50, maybe 100 alerts to the SOC. You have been incredibly, undeniably busy. You feel like you've run a marathon.
But then you walk into a meeting with the C-suite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You walk in, chest puffed out, you're ready to show off your activity logs, and leadership looks at you, pauses, and asks the one question that just destroys you.
Are we actually safer?
Okay, but are we actually safer? It's crushing.
It is the ultimate nightmare because it's the realization that there's this massive canyon between output, what you do, and outcome, what you actually achieve.
Yes.
And frankly, most cyber threat intelligence or CTI programs, they fall right into that canyon. They can prove they're working, but they can't prove they're valuable. They're just running on a hamster wheel, generating heat, but no forward motion.
That is the gap we are trying to close today. We are unpacking a document that's designed specifically to pull security teams out of that exact trap.
Right.
It's the Cyber Threat Intelligence Capability Maturity Model, specifically version 1.3. Now, I know, Capability Maturity Model sounds a bit like a bureaucratic word salad.
It does sound like something you print out and put in a binder to gather dust.
It does. But this isn't that.
No. And if it were just some academic exercise, I wouldn't be interested. But this isn't theory written in an ivory tower. This is a battle plan. It's a community-driven effort. You've got folks from Intel 471, Europol's EC3, experts from banking, healthcare, retail.
So people in the trenches.
People in the trenches who got tired of the busy trap. They built this framework to solve the exact problem you just described. How do we stop just being busy and start being effective?
So, our mission today is simple. We're going to take you from counting inputs, how many reports you wrote, to measuring value, how much money you saved, how much risk you actually reduced.
Huge shift.
And to help us do that, we have to thank our partners who make this deep dive possible. If you're listening to this and realizing your tool set is stuck in the past, or you're just reacting to things that happened 3 days ago,
Which is most of the time.
you need to look at www.cisomarketplace.com for the right diverse tooling and www.breached.company for the deep breach data that actually fuels a proactive program. We'll talk more about how data quality dictates maturity later on, but keep them in mind. You can't build a Ferrari engine and then fuel it with sand.
Exactly. You cannot cook a gourmet meal with rotten ingredients. Data is everything in this game.
Let's start with the core philosophy here. When
Well-
I read through this model, the thing that just screamed at me was this phrase, stakeholder-first. It feels like a rebuttal to the way CTI usually operates. Why is that such a radical statement?
It's a complete shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Historically, CTI has been a silo.
Right.
You have very smart people in a dark room, literally and metaphorically, finding scary things. They write a technical report, they throw it over the wall to the rest of the business, and they hope someone reads it.
It's the field of dreams approach. If you write it, they will read.
But they don't read it, do they?
No, they don't.
So the CTI-CMM changes the premise entirely. It says that a CTI program exists only to support the people making decisions. If you aren't supporting a stakeholder, you aren't doing intelligence, you're just doing research.
Oh, that's a distinction.
There is a huge difference. Research satisfies your curiosity. Intelligence satisfies a business need.
Okay, let's unpack stakeholder, because in my head, that just sounds like the boss. But the model gets way more specific. It seems to imply that not all stakeholders are created equal, or at least they don't all speak the same language.
Right, and it breaks them down into 3 distinct levels, and understanding this is absolutely crucial because they all need different things. If you mix these up, you fail.
Okay.
First, you have the strategic stakeholders.
These are the heavy hitters, the C-suite, the board.
Yes. CEOs, CISOs, maybe national security advisors if you're in government, they operate on a long, long time horizon. They don't care about a specific IP address attacking the firewall today.
No.
They don't care about one phishing email. They care about long-term planning, policy, and questions like, how will a trade war in this region impact our supply chain in 5 years?
So they want the climate forecast, not the daily weather report.
Exactly. Then you have operational stakeholders. These are your risk managers, your compliance officers, maybe the VP of a specific business unit.
The people who have to actually make the strategy work.
Yes, they
Right.
need to align their strategies with the threat landscape. They're asking, is this specific threat group targeting our industry? And do we have the controls for it? They need to know if they should be worried about today's news headlines.
And then I assume the people actually pushing the buttons, the folks in the SOC.
That's the tactical level. SOC analysts, incident response network administrators, they need immediate, specific, actionable data. Block this IP, isolate this host, hunt for this hash.
And if you send them a 30-page PDF on geopolitics,
You are wasting that time. They have tickets to close. They need alerts they can act on right now.
the model uses this analogy of CTI being the eyes and ears of the organization. I like that. It implies that the rest of the body, the hands, the feet, can't function properly if the eyes aren't looking in the right direction.
That's the perfect way to visualize it. CTI combines all these disciplines, OSINT, human, where you're actually talking to people, techint from your signals to provide context.
Right.
But the eyes need to look where the body wants to go. That's the stakeholder alignment. If the body wants to walk north and the eyes are staring south, you're going to trip and fall.
So if we accept that we need to serve these stakeholders, how do we measure if we're actually doing a good job? This is where the structure of the model comes in, specifically the maturity levels. We have a scale from MIL 0 to MIL 3.
Right. And this scale is the heart of the model. It helps you self-diagnose where you are, honestly.
Let's walk through them. CTI 0 is pretty straightforward, pre-foundational.
It means you're not doing it. The practice just doesn't exist. You might have a firewall, but you have zero intelligence feeding it.
Easy enough. But CTI 1, this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. This is the foundational level, but the model calls it the ad hoc phase. To me, this sounds like where the busy trap lives.
It is exactly where the trap lives.
Yeah.
In CTI-1, you are reactive. A threat happens, maybe a competitor gets hacked, or a new vulnerability comes out, and you scramble.
Right. Panic station.
You write a report, you send it out, it's undocumented, it's response-driven. But the key indicator here is your metrics. In CPI-1, you measure effort and throughput.
And we sent 50 alerts this week.
Exactly. Or we wrote 10 reports this month. It feels productive. You can show a chart that goes up and to the right. But the expert insight here, and it's a brutal one, is that this offers limited measurable value. It proves you were busy, but it doesn't prove you are effective. You're just shouting into the void.
That stings a bit for anyone currently, proudly displaying those charts in their weekly meeting. So how do we graduate to CTI-2? This is the advanced phase.
CTI-2 is all about becoming proactive. You move from chaos to standardization. You have planned workflows, you are documenting your processes, and crucially, you're using automation at scale. You aren't manually checking everything anymore.
And the metrics have to change here too, right? You can't still be counting reports.
They have to. In CTI-2, you stop measuring effort and start measuring impact. A great metric here would be, we reduced mean time to detect by 20% because of our intelligence.
Okay, now that's something a CISO can take to the board.
Now you are influencing stakeholders, not just spamming them. You can show that your work made the SOC faster or the risk team smarter.
That sounds like a pretty good place to be. But there is a level above that. CTI-3, the leading phase, the promised land.
This is the holy grail. CTI-3 is the prescriptive phase. You aren't just proactive. You are aligned to business outcomes, and you are actively driving strategy.
You're not just reacting, you're steering the ship.
You are telling the business what to do based on what you see coming down the road.
Prescriptive is a really strong word. What does a metric even look like at that level? It's not just reducing detection time anymore.
No, it looks like this.
Yeah.
We vetted a strategic acquisition against our threat intelligence risk assessments and stopped a bad deal that would have introduced massive liability.
Right.
That is an outcome.
Wow.
You saved the company millions of dollars and its reputation.
Yeah.
You didn't just block a virus. You altered the business strategy itself.
That is a huge leap. And I want to pause here because moving from that reactive CTI-1 to that strategic CTI-3, it feels like it often requires better fuel. You can't be prescriptive if your data is stale.
You can't.
If you are telling the business what to do based on data from last month, you're going to lead them right off a cliff.
Precisely. You cannot be a leading organization with lagging data.
And this is where a resource like www.breached.company fits in. If you are trying to be proactive about credential leaks or, say, third-party risk, you can't wait for it to hit the news.
It's too late by then.
It's way too late. You need that deep breach data immediately to feed those automated processes we talked about in CTI-2. If your automation is fed by slow data, you're just automating being late.
That's a great way to put it. Automation requires high-fidelity, real-time data. If you feed garbage or old news into your automation, you just scale up your problems.
So, we have the philosophy and we have the levels. But CTI isn't just one big blob. The model breaks it down into 11 specific domains. It aligns with the C2M2 model, which is nice for consistency. We can't cover all 11, but I want to dive into a few that really show the contrast between being a busy shop and a valuable shop.
Good idea.
Let's start with one that isn't in the original C2M2, but is huge for retail and finance: fraud and abuse management.
This is a great example because the ROI is so tangible. The mission here is shielding the organization from scams, brand abuse, and direct financial loss.
So, paint the picture for me. What does a CTI-1 ad hoc fraud team look like?
It's manual whack-a-mole. They're probably manually checking social media, maybe searching Twitter for their company name to see if anyone is posting fake coupons.
That sounds miserable.
Or looking for leaked credentials on a pay site when they have spare time. They find one, they take it down. 2 more pop up. It's exhausting and endless.
And CTI-3, the leading fraud team, what are they doing?
Oh, they are operating on a different planet. They're using automated disruption of phishing kits. They identify the infrastructure the fraudsters are using and kill it before the campaign even launches.
So they're cutting it off at the source.
At the source. And they might be using cyber deception, deploying honeypots or honey accounts.
Explain honey accounts for a second. What's that?
These are basically fake customer accounts that look real. The security team leaves them out there as bait. When a fraudster bites, tries to log in or use the account, the team tracks them to understand their tactics. They are studying the criminal in real time.
They're turning the tables.
And the metric. They are calculating estimated cost savings. They can go to the CFO and say, we stopped this specific campaign, which historically costs us $500,000 in chargebacks.
That is the difference between I found a tweet and I saved the company $500,000.
Exactly. One is an activity, the other is a business outcome.
Okay, let's move to another domain. Asset, change, and configuration management. Or just asset. This sounds boring. It sounds like inventory management, but I feel like it's the foundation of everything.
It is the foundation.
You can't protect what you don't know you have.
You're absolutely right. If you don't know your attack surface, you are blind. In the foundational CTI-1 stage, the CTI team might have access to an asset list, but they barely use it.
So it's just a spreadsheet sitting somewhere.
Pretty much. Maybe they look at it after a breach to see if the compromised server was on the list.
Oh, is that ours? Oops.
Reactive. Too little, too late. Very. But at the leading CTI-3 level, we see something called just-in-time alerting. The CTI team is monitoring the attack surface so closely that when a new vulnerability is disclosed, they know instantly which assets are exposed.
That's powerful.
Even better, CTI provides intelligence before assets are even purchased.
Wait, before they are purchased, how does that work?
Yes. They're vetting the hardware and software vendors against threat intelligence to say, do not buy the software. The vendor has terrible security practices and a history of breaches. This is the architect part of the title.
Ah.
You are helping build the house with safe materials, not just guarding the door after it's built with shoddy locks.
That is true integration. You are part of the purchasing life cycle, not just the cleanup crew. Okay, let's talk risk management. This feels like the bridge between the nerds and the board.
It is. It's the translation layer. And at the foundational level CTI-1, you just roughly know the main risks. Ransomware is bad. Phishing is a risk.
Which is true, but not very helpful for budgeting. You can't just write scary stuff on a budget request.
No, you can't. At CTI-3, the CTI program aligns with formal frameworks like NIST 830 or FAIR. That stands for Factor Analysis of Information Risk.
Okay.
They build a cyber threat profile, which we should discuss more in a second, that ranks threats. They prioritize risk decisions based on that rank. They aren't saying ransomware is bad.
What are they saying?
They are saying, based on the activity of threat group X, Y, and Z, the probability a ransomware attack on our Asian manufacturing plant has increased by 15%, so we need to prioritize patching that specific sector immediately.
That is a language the business understands. It turns fear into math.
Exactly.
One last domain I want to touch on, workforce management. Because humans are always the weak link, right? The human element.
Human element, yes. At CTI-1, you're just giving generic inputs to security awareness training. Don't click links. Use strong passwords. Everyone gets the same boring annual training.
And everyone clicks next, next, finish, and ignores it because it's boring and feels totally irrelevant to their job.
Correct. But at CTI-3, CTI drives tailored vetting for high-risk roles. And here's the cool part. They use CTI insights to drive specific phishing simulations based on actual adversary TTPS. That's tactics, techniques, and procedures.
So you mean the finance department gets a different test than the HR department?
A completely different test. So if you're in finance, you aren't getting a generic you want to cruise phishing test. You are getting a test that looks exactly like the fake invoice scams currently targeting the finance sector.
That is so much more valuable. It's training for the fight you are actually going to face.
It is.
It makes the training relevant, which changes the entire security culture.
It creates muscle memory for the actual threats they will see every day.
We mentioned the cyber threat profile a moment ago. The outline highlights this as a critical bridge. It creates a characterization of likely intent, capability, and targets. Why is this a separate concept from just knowing your enemy? Why do we need a formal profile?
Because you cannot defend against everyone. It's impossible. The key requirement here, the thing that makes it work, is rank order.
Rank order.
You must rank your threat groups. You cannot treat a sophisticated nation-state actor the same way you treat a teenager with a script. They have different capabilities and different intents.
So you have to literally say, Group A is priority 1, Group B is priority 10. You have to make that hard choice.
You have to. And you evaluate them based on 3 things. What do they want? That's intent. What can they actually do? That's capability. And what are they aiming for? That's targets.
Okay.
Once you have that profile, you operationalize it. You use it for gap analysis. You compare those top-ranked threats against your current defenses.
We know Group A uses this specific malware. Do our current tools even detect it?
Exactly. And that leads directly to prescriptive guidance. You can tell the business, with data, we need to invest in technology X because it specifically stops our #1 threat.
But building that profile requires a lot of data. You need open source, breach events, chatter from the cybercriminal underground, your own internal data. If you are missing one of those pieces, your profile is incomplete.
It is. You have to fuse all of it. If you have blind spots in your data, you have blind spots in your profile. And a blind spot in your profile is exactly where the attack will come from.
And that is a perfect tie-in for our sponsor, www.cisomarketplace.com. If you're trying to build a robust threat profile, you can't just rely on one feed. You can't just look at open source news.
No, it's not enough.
CISO Marketplace is a great place to find the diverse tools and data sources you need so that when you sit down to rank those threats, you are looking at the whole picture, not just one piece of it.
Absolutely. The quality of your profile is entirely dependent on the diversity and quality of your sources. You need that marketplace approach to find the niche tools that see things the big vendors miss.
Okay, we've built the profile, we understand the domains. Now comes the scary part, the assessment process. We have to grade ourselves. And the model has a very specific, and I have to say, somewhat painful rule for this, the lower score rule.
This is where egos get bruised. The rule is simple. If you are torn between 2 scores, say you're looking at a practice and thinking, well, we are partially implemented, but on good days we're largely implemented, you must choose the lower score.
Why? That feels like setting yourself up to look bad. If I'm the CTI manager, I want to show my boss that we're doing great. Why would I voluntarily lower my grade?
It feels counterintuitive, but it's deeply strategic. If you pick the higher score, you mask the problem.
No.
You tell leadership, we're good here, so they don't give you resources to fix it. They look at the green on the dashboard and they move on. But if you pick the lower score, you highlight a gap. A gap is a roadmap for improvement. A gap is a business case for budget.
So be honest to get better. Or maybe be brutally honest to get the budget you need.
Be brutally honest. There's a tendency to conflate, we do this sometimes with, we have a standardized capability. Just because you did a threat hunt once last year doesn't mean you're at CTI too.
That's still ad hoc.
That is still ad hoc. A capability means it is repeatable, documented, and reliable day in and day out.
And the model says we need to validate this with stakeholders, right? We can't just sit in a room and grade our own homework.
Correct. And the feedback must be explicit, not implicit. You cannot assume you're valuable just because nobody is complaining.
Yeah.
You have to actually ask them, did this report help you make a decision?
And be prepared for the answer.
Be prepared for them to say, I didn't read it, or it was too technical for me. Well, you have your answer. You're at CTI 1.
That is a tough conversation to have, but so necessary. It's better to have that conversation now than after a major incident where everyone asks, why didn't we know?
Absolutely.
So let's look at the implementation cycle. How do we actually do this? The model breaks it down into steps 0 through 4.
And step 0 is the one everyone skips.
Step 0, prepare. Why do people skip it? What is it?
Because they want to jump straight to the scoring. They want the number. But step 0 is about defining success before you assess. You have to identify your stakeholders and ask them what they need from you.
It's like trying to win a race when you don't even know where the finish line is.
Exactly. If you don't know what the risk manager needs, how can you possibly assess if you're serving them? So once you've done that prep work, you move to step 1, assess.
Right. Okay.
That's where you baseline your current practices using that 4-point scale and, of course, the lower score rule. This gives you your current state.
And step 2, plan.
This is all about prioritization. You identify your strong domains and your areas for improvement. But the advice here is crucial, and it prevents burnout. Prioritize what can be done in the next 90 days.
Don't try to boil the ocean.
Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick a few wins. Maybe you focus just on the fraud domain or just on asset management.
Okay, then step 3, deploy.
Execute the plan. Buy the data feeds, hire the staff, write the scripts. But there's a critical note here. Make priority decisions explicitly and document them.
Write it down.
Write it down. Do not operate on assumptions. Put in a document, we are prioritizing the fraud domain this quarter because of X, and we are explicitly accepting the risk in other areas for now.
That's so important for cover, too. If something happens in an area you deprioritize, you can point to the document and say, we made a conscious business decision to focus our limited resources elsewhere.
Exactly. It moves the conversation from negligence to informed risk acceptance, a world of difference.
And finally, step 4, measure.
Continuous monitoring. You have to loop back and ask, is the program providing measurable value? If the answer is no, you don't just keep going. You stop, you loop back, and you readjust. It's a cycle, not a straight line.
It really emphasizes that CTI isn't a set it and forget it function. It's a living, breathing part of the business.
It has to be. The threat landscape changes every single day. Your program has to be able to adapt just as fast.
So what does this all mean? To me, the CTI-CMM version 1.3 isn't just a checklist. It feels like a philosophy. It's about moving from being a busy cost center, the people in the basement sending scary emails, to being a valuable strategic partner.
That is the core message. Intelligence is only useful if it drives a decision. If you aren't influencing the risk manager or the architect or the fraud team, you are likely still at CTI-1. You're just making noise. The goal is to make music.
I love that. And I think it's a perfect challenge for our listeners. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on, something that really tests where you are on this maturity scale. It's what I call the silence test.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you stopped sending reports tomorrow, if you just went silent, shut down the email server, stopped the Slack alerts, would your stakeholders notice because their inbox is quieter? Or would they notice because they can no longer make safe decisions?
That is the question. If the answer is, my inbox is quieter, you have work to do, they might even be secretly relieved.
Right.
But if the answer is, I can't do my job, I can't verify this vendor, I can't assess this risk without you, then you are truly a mature CTI program.
The answer tells you your maturity level better than any spreadsheet ever could. That is a wrap for this deep dive on the CTI-CMM. A huge thank you to the community that built this model. It is a massive resource for the industry. And of course, a final thank you to our sponsors, www.cisomarketplace.com and www.breached.company. If you are looking to level up your tools and your data to meet that CTI-3 standard, go check them out. You need the right partners to climb that maturity ladder.
They are great resources for anyone on this journey.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye.